Okay, Ree, now you've had a really interesting career journey. I wonder if you could tell people, give them the customary elevator pitch, talk a bit about what Zimpler does, and also talk a bit about your background and how you arrived at Zimpler.
I guess I started in the gaming industry about 15 years ago, really by accident. I was 18. There was nothing else available in my small town and walked into Ladbrokes, and 15 years later, still here.
Excellent.
But since then, for the last 10 years, mostly focusing on kind of B2B supplier positions, so around payments, affiliate marketing, that kind of thing. But I kind of dabbled in fintech 10 years ago when I first moved to Malta, and then kind of moved into affiliation and marketing. But coming back to fintech now with Zimpler, the industry has it's reinvented itself 5 times since I was last in it. And that's what really drew me to Zimpler, looking at fintech, payments, open banking, and how kind of connected it is with iGaming, but also it's this whole other world outside of just iGaming. Super, super exciting to use that experience from the iGaming side, but see this whole new world of fintech and payments. What we do is we facilitate instant transactions, basically, to wherever you are on the internet, whether you're playing casino, getting paid your salary. We want that to be instant and as quick and simple as possible.
Very good, very good. So you kind of took all of that amazing experience from iGaming and gambling and you brought it into the fintech sector. You mentioned some of them already, but what do you think are some of the features that the sector needs from fintech? What's the cross-pollination of strategy there?
Yeah, I think there's a lot, really. I think payments is so integral to everything in all industries, but I think especially in iGaming, we can assist with conversion when it gets to player registration. We can handle that. We can handle KYC. Obviously, getting the payments in and out, which really boosts player trust. So even though it's us kind of handling those flows, it's the brand that the player feels the loyalty towards. So we can help out. And in many other ways, I think we'll get on to AML, but AML is such a struggle, and it's something that payments can hopefully really help the operators and the end users with tackling.
Yeah, totally. And I remember myself, many moons ago, I worked in an internet service provider, and it was very frustrating because we had really crappy technology there. We had Unix, workstations and all this stuff, and the folks we were advising had this amazing, sophisticated technology. So, often people overlook the B2B experience. Do you think that the B2C customer experience and, the journey that we're all having, particularly the digital natives, should that be informing the B2B customer experience a bit more? And how does Zimpler fit in?
Yeah, we're a purely kind of B2B officially kind of company. They are our customers and our clients, but the product is end user facing, so it's B2C facing. So we still have to be super connected to both sides. We're not in direct touch with the B2C, but how they interact with our product it's super important. So we have to work really closely with the B2B providers. We can give them a lot of information on how the end users are interacting with the product. We can provide assistance on how they can improve their technology, their website, their whole funnel to convert much better. We have data also, because once we have an end user, we can see their behavior across many different operators and often many different industries. So we can really see how operators kind of sit. We can find the baseline and the benchmark and help them kind of get to that benchmark and increase.
Yeah, absolutely. Very interesting what you kind of mentioned there. There is obviously a kind of changing customer expectation. As was mentioned on the last panel, you're not just competing against the last best customer experience in the sector, you're just competing against the last best customer experience, full stop. Now, this has huge implications for fintech, huge implications for iGaming. Why do you think this is happening? What are some of the ingredients and the companies that folks here should be keeping tabs on?
Yeah, I think the customer, their demands as well have changed so much. In the last 10 years, but even in the last 2, 3, 4 years. The pandemic especially, it really affected end user behavior people moving to contract employment instead of kind of regular, you have one salary, one company that you go to work for. If we want to have a remote world, where we can work from anywhere, it's super hard to facilitate without ending up being a contractor, because the infrastructure is not really in place. But we also have a generation now who can't afford housing like previous generations. They don't have the kind of luxuries that the boomers enjoyed. And it means that we now have a huge shift also to gig work, side hustles, like investments, but very typically like crypto, NFT, these new kind of investments that regulators, banks, everyone is terrified of. When it comes to creating a good experience for these end users, who eventually you will have to review their source of wealth, check their AML status, when they have maybe 5, 6, 7 sources of income, that's something we're not prepared for, and it makes it very hard to make that a good experience. You're asking for source of wealth, and if they have 3 different gig platforms where they have income, it becomes a real conversion killer. So I think it's so important that the regulators kind of get up to speed on this new way of like living. The operators are ready for it. The fintechs, the banks, they all learn to understand this is how it is now. It's not one salary, and that's it.
Yeah, that's really fascinating. And it seems like something that you're very plugged into. Maybe the industry isn't so plugged into. We've got these shifting demographics. We've got the Zoomers absolutely, on the up. And as you say, they've got very different kind of wealth and finance models than the previous generations. And, to that end, there's nothing quite as frustrating as seeing a boomer give out to a Gen Z about having an extra avocado. Or, there's really a kind of a lack of connection there. But talk to us a bit about, how do you kind of address the full market? You've got the Gen Zs and you've got the boomers, and the boomers have that accumulated lifetime wealth. They've got more disposable income, but how do you kind of address the full spectrum?
Yeah, it's a fun kind of war we have internally, I would say, especially between me and sales and our marketing teams. Marketing love Gen Z. They have so much more creative ways that they can reach Gen Z. But we really need to address the aging population. And in fintech, it has been a big problem. Everyone wants to focus on building the coolest and the newest thing. But a study in the UK recently showed that over 50s really felt like they were being left behind by fintech specifically. They don't know how to pay for anything anymore. They're used to cash, sometimes even checks. So it does become super, super important because they're the ones with the money as well. They're the big spenders still in most sectors. So it's something I'm really pushing, that we have a product that fits everyone. It's quick, it's easy, it gives the kind of the Zoomers what they need, but it's also simple. It's not something new that the older generation have to learn. I find that even when I speak to my mum, but especially grandparents, even adding a card online, it's not super simple for them. And then your card gets lost, or it gets stolen, or it expires, and you have to go through it all again. So finding a solution that they're already familiar with, which with open banking, they know their own banks. There's not something new they have to learn. And just making it 3 clicks, and you get your money instantly. I think it's super important that you can still reach those people, as well as being able to manage the Zoomers and the upcoming generations.
100%. The last thing you want to do is launch some kind of fancy fintech solution that's too difficult for the boomers to use. For all that people do tend to focus on the Zoomers in terms of marketing, etc. That's a really good point. Now, of course, this is a sector that's very highly regulated. How do you think the sector can, from your brilliant perspective in both camps, if you like, how can the sector rise to the challenge of higher regulatory scrutiny?
Yeah, it's our biggest, pain point at the moment. We have, as a fintech, we're licensed as a financial institution, so we have to meet our regulators' requirements, but then we also have to meet the requirements of banks. If we want to work with the banks, we have to appease them, and their requirements can be even tougher than the regulator, but they're not in line with what is possible or what is reasonable today. So it's a lot of everyone kind of side-eyeing each other, like, who are you? What are you doing? How can I destroy this new technology? But I think it's much more important that we work together. AML, responsible gambling, these things are really important.
Yeah.
But if we don't look at the real player behaviors, we're not going to be able to meet those challenges. We're just going to block people from being able to play responsibly. So I think much more collaboration between all areas. We need to work with the banks to offer our product. The bank needs to work with the regulators. We all need to work with the end users to understand the world as it is now.
Yeah.
I think one big problem is that a lot of these companies are run by a certain generation also who haven't experienced the way of life of the younger generations. So it's a lot of knowledge gaps, I would say, but we're working hard we work a lot with our B2B operators to really workshop around, and AML is like, it sounds so boring, but it's how you keep your players. It's how you keep the regulators happy, the players happy. So we workshop ways that we can help meet the needs of all generations, how we can, we workshop with the banks also across the world. We have really good relationships with the banks to try and help them understand the complexities and users, how they really use money today, and if they can, kind of improve their own processes and understanding so that we're not just blocking a generation from being able to pay online.
Yeah, absolutely. And sticking with regulation, etc. Do you think that the sector and fintechs in particular, did they come under an unfair amount of regulatory scrutiny compared to the big legacy players who maybe not as technologically advanced? Is that like a kind of a double-edged sword, if you like?
Yeah, I think so, for sure. I think I saw a news article last week about two of the biggest banks in the UK charged with money laundering. One of them money laundering failings, one of them actual money laundering.
Yeah.
And there's going to be no repercussions for that. But then you look at fintechs, new fintechs who are coming up. We just want to build great, safe products.
Yeah.
And gaming companies as well. It's so hard to get a bank account because they don't trust. They think iGaming is such high risk. But it seems like the banks are the highest risk, or no risk really, because there's almost no repercussions for the way that they operate. So I definitely think there's a lot of pressure on the kind of new wave technology companies to be at this top level perfect standard that the legacy companies just don't meet.
Wow.
I think it's going to be interesting to see if we see a change there. I think, for example, Malta being kind of grey listed recently, that will be a super good use case. Like, will there be repercussions? Will things change and improve? And will it be for the better or not? I guess we'll see. But I think worldwide there needs to be reform and more embracing of new technologies, not this urge to just kill anything you don't understand.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, where would we be if we killed all the new technology? That doesn't sound like fun at all. Speaking of which, have you got any predictions for the future? What do you think the future holds for this space?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it's a prediction or just a hope, but I really hope that we can increase collaboration across all areas with the regulator and the regulated, with operators and suppliers, with the end users, between different regulators as well. You have, in the gambling industry, you have every country now coming up with their own regulation, and so often it's so misinformed. They're trying to be like very strict and protect players, but they kind of end up doing the opposite and driving them towards unlicensed operators. If they just worked together a little bit, when one regulator finds something that works, then we can share that and learn from it rather than kind of picking the one that looks the toughest.
Yeah.
So definitely more collaboration, I think, is going to be super important.
Fantastic.
That's what I keep pushing for.
Excellent, excellent. I love it. So that's a prediction and also an invitation. And if folks want to get in touch with you, are you here for the rest of the day? Can they reach out to you online?
Yes, exactly. I mean, I'm all over LinkedIn. Definitely get in touch. We're really keen. And it's something, trying not to be too salesy, but that Zimpler really care about is collaboration and flexibility. We want to hear from you. If you're having any pain points in the business, we can find a way that payments and open banking can help address those, whether it's AML, whether it's conversion, whether it's, better internet to the office. We can find a way to tackle these things together. We want to innovate. Our biggest goal for this year is to keep innovation at our heart. So we want to work with all segments, all industries to make sure we're moving forward.
Fantastic. Well, it really genuinely sounds like you're bringing so much life experience and professional experience to your role at Zimpler, for the benefit of the iGaming industry. So thank you so much for joining us. Ladies and gents, please join me in thanking Ree Burns, the Chief Commercial Officer of Zimpler. Thank you. That was brilliant.
Thank you so much.
Absolutely wonderful.